Season 1, we were in our feelings. Season 2, we started dealing. And in Season 3, we are getting to the healing. Join me, your host Justin-Rayne, and new guests each episode. Prepare to laugh, cry, possibly be triggered, but most importantly, evolve past it all as we continue to address our Fuck Boi Problems. On today's episode of Fuck Boi Problems, titled Mr. The Door is Closed, I sit down and talk with social media personality and emerging entrepreneur John about hyper-independence, finding closure on your own versus with others, and the importance of being preemptive. You guys, we really get down to the nitty gritty and we talk about the psychology behind it all, and I know you guys are going to love it. But first up, here's Fuck Boys in the News.
Good evening. This is the news. Good evening. This is the news.
Good evening. This is the news.
Campaign between James and Phoebe really heating up now. Thanks.
Fucking library.
This is the fucking news.
Is this the Krusty Krab?
No! This is the fucking news.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Fuck Boys in the News. It's the portion of the show where if you're fucking up and you have no excuse for your actions, know that I'm going to call you out on them. And on today's episode of Tone Deaf, Dumb, and Demoralizing, first up we have none other than Miss Jessie Nelson. The former Little Mix singer, in her latest episode, or I guess the latest episode of White Girls with Identity Crises, she has been blackfishing you all. If you have been living under a rock, or maybe you just don't care about music that much, Jessie has debuted a single as a solo artist with a single named Boys. And in this song, she talks about how she loves everything about bad boys, which are their blackness, their grills, their gangster ways, their tattoos, anything pretty much, associated with black culture. She goes even further, to appropriate a myriad of urban-esque wig hair choices, a severe tan up in here, and throughout the video, it is riddled with African Americans, hoopties, what do you call those cars that bounce up and down on hydraulics, and just all kind of stuff. And the sad part about it is a person on her team tweeted from a secret account saying that Jessie was informed of how this would look, how it would be received by black people and by the world. And she said, every great pop star has her start with black people, and by doing this, look at Gwen Stefani. Miss Ma'am, you can make a cool track that appreciates hip hop, that appreciates certain things, but when you riddle everything about going to jail and he's a gangster and all these things, and you label all these things as kind of like African American stereotypes, and then you also appropriate your appearance, to support these things, it's a bit much. It's some fuckboy shit, and there are so many other alternatives to get your debut, especially when you said that you were leaving music or you were stopped being in Little Mix because you cared about being bullied so much on the internet. Well, thanks for giving us more fodder to drag your ass with, sis. Next up on the list, we'll get to the dumb people in the list. We have some NBA fraudsters. 18 retired NBA players, including Glenn Davis, Terrence Williams, and Monica's ex-husband Shannon Brown, have been arrested and charged in a $4 million health insurance fraud scheme. They were ripping off the NBA health plan for retired players. From the years 2017 to 2020, these guys made over $4 million? No, $2.5 million, in false claims for medical and dental experiences, and were reimbursed in $2.5 million. Now, this is where it gets really dumb, y'all. The players didn't even make sure that they did their due diligence. I guess one person got on. I'm assuming Terrence Williams, from the way my findings were kind of given, because he seems to be the ringleader and he's going down the toughest in this situation. I guess Terrence put everybody in group text and was like, y'all, hey, we're retired now. The money isn't coming in the same. Here's a way to get a little bit of extra income to supplement your chains, your gangs, and your stunting. I don't know what the deal was, but they're really dumb. So, for example, 3 of the players filed claims for root canals on the same day at the same time at different dentist offices. And then 2 weeks later, claimed that they were getting crowns on the same 6 teeth in the same, like on the same date. And it's like, what? Nobody thought to, okay, maybe we should space this out. Maybe we shouldn't put the same 6 teeth. Maybe we shouldn't coordinate. And then it just goes all the way left when you find out that these fools either didn't put letterhead on any of their claims, and as the as the prosecuting attorney stated, the most glaring issue or questionable fact was the elementary level grammatical errors. It could not get dumber than this. And I'm sorry, fuck boys. Y'all need to pay up or go to jail and shut up. Monica, I'm so sorry that your ex-husband is up in this, but I guess you dodged a bullet, sis. And lastly on the list, we have Mr. Mike Epps. Now, I always thought Mike was a little funny when he hit on my mama in the mall years ago, and only for him to be married after she told him she was married. And she was like, well, wait a second, why was you even trying to ask me what I'm doing tonight then? But that's neither here nor there. So recently his ex-wife, she spoke on a podcast called Girlfriends and Champagne, and she detailed the demise of their relationship that finalized in 2017. That's when the divorce was finalized. And she gave us a few details that actually make him look even worse. And now I'm just side-eyeing this dude. Because according to his ex-wife, Michelle, she found out that Mike was dating his now wife on the blogs before even having a conversation with him or anything like that. She also continued on to say that before she found out, during their divorce filings, and then after their divorce filings, they continued to be having sex. And a little bit afterwards, she finally was like, okay, wait, he's not gonna change. This is just not a casual date. Like, he thinks fat meat's not greasy. So she called him out after seeing him with his now wife, Kyra, and she was like, okay, so what's going on with this? Are you going to change? Are you going to fix this? And she said she decided to let actions speak better than words. And in that moment, finally realized that, some people just don't want to change. Well, you know what? That's very true, Michelle. Sometimes people, they don't want to change. They don't want to grow. They don't want to be better. And they rather make excuses for their actions instead of taking accountability and really treating people how they want to be treated. I am so excited for you guys to hear this conversation, Mr. Doors Closed, with John, aka John the Gummy Shark. He is an emerging entrepreneur. He has this brand new brand all based around nude skin tones called Nude Skins. And we really go there and we talk about closure and everything in between. So without further ado, let's get into the confessions. What to do but to keep part 2 of my confessions. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Fu Boi Problems. We are on episode 2, and today we have my good buddy from over on Twitter, Mr. John, the Gummy Shark himself. He is an emerging entrepreneur. He has an amazing brand called Nude Skins, and he's just funny as hell online if you have never seen any of his videos. Yes. And today's episode is called Mr. The Door is Closed, you all. It's not opening. We're not doing it again. We're not trying it. You got one and you're done. Let's start with the nickname. What is this person's nickname going to be today?
We can call him Felucious.
Felucious.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to spell that, but as long as you do. Okay. Felucious. That sounds like foolish and some other stuff mixed together.
That part.
Okay. All right, Ashanti.
Just a little fancy,
You had to put your little razzle dazzle. Let's paint the picture. Do it Golden Girl style, like picture it, Sicily. The air was crisp and clean on a spring day. Where did you meet this person and how did it happen? Go and get it started.
So it was a dark and stormy night. Nah,
Yes.
but it was a dark night, and I was a little bit frustrated, if you will, sexually frustrated. So of course, naturally, this was about 7 years ago, 6, 7 years ago. And I was pretty young at the time, probably like 22, 23, something like that. And naturally, what happens when you're sexually frustrated and you don't got no nigga? So, you go to the app, reached out to this young man, and he was very, very good looking, slightly older, which is, right there up my alley. I can't even remember his age, but he was like either early 30s or late 20s at the time. And so, my young self, I kind of looked older at the time, and I've always been quite mature, you know what I mean? So anyways, we were talking on Jack, we finally, we decided. It was a pretty quick conversation, but at that time I wasn't really like pressed for sex. It was more so like for the intimacy aspect. So, if we got around to sex, we got around to sex. If we didn't, I mean, it just was what it was. So and I think he was on the same tip. So got over there, and we actually like chilled. I don't think we didn't really do much. I mean, I think I probably slobbed on the knob probably for a couple of seconds, but for the most part, we pretty much chilled the entire night. He looked just like his picture, so that was a plus. Still good looking, you know what I'm saying? A nice body, for me at least, a little belly, a little gut, a little titty. I mean, I like all body types to be honest, but sometimes it depends on my mood. Yeah, so we were just hanging out, and it turned out to be a nice little vibe. And so that's kind of what we did on a regular basis. So we exchanged numbers. Felucius was great. He worked in higher ed. He actually worked at the school that I went to, like at at a different campus. But it was a school system, so he was able to, like, if I need him to do something for me, like because he was actually an advisor, so if I need him to like do something for me, like in terms of like getting me a connection with this person and stuff like that, because I actually needed him like during graduation to like make sure all my my credits were A1 and
Hook it
stuff like
up.
that. So
Hook it up.
listen, so Lucius was a good dude, okay. But yeah, so it was great. We had dinner together multiple times.
Was it
we
like a
we
friends with
weren't
benefits? Was it like analogous?
it was definitely I wouldn't even say a friends with benefits. It was just more so, it's kind of like one of those things where it's like we were in a stage building up into a relationship,
Okay,
but
I get that.
we hadn't we never talked about it. It was just kind of like we were just enjoying each other's company. So it's just kind of like one of those things where it's just like really, really a really cool vibe. And I'm young as hell, so I'm not really thinking that far into the relationship aspect. I don't know what's on his mind. For the most part, it was kind of surface level, because at that time I wasn't really talking to people so deeply as I do now. As a
Mm.
philosopher of sorts. But now, so we were just cool. It was a cool vibe. We were both enjoying each other's company. Like there was no confusion that he was enjoying me and I was enjoying him. So fast forward, we do that for a couple of months. Like, I mean, just hardcore hanging, like literally almost every day.
So real courtship.
Yeah, exactly. And so, we're just getting to know each other. And I think and I didn't find out about this later, but one day he hit me with, like, he said something, I think, that he was upset about, and I guess I didn't respond the way he wanted me to respond. But like he never said anything. I can't even pinpoint. I can't even, like, to this day I can't even remember what the conversation possibly could have been about, because there was no reaction for me to notice. Oh, okay, well, you probably said something. And I've always been a very intuitive person, but I mean, he just gave no inklings. And like we've talked after that, and everything like that. Where what he
He
said.
just made a mental note. It
Listen,
was like,
got it. I think like after that time, hey, like, just, I mean, ghosted me. Like it was done. Like it was like nothing. Like I was just like, oh, this he gone. Like so gone. And I was
nah,
just like,
he gone.
he gone. And don't get me wrong, part of me didn't feel no type of way because we hadn't established anything. And at that time, I also wasn't really, I was still battling, for the most part. So it wasn't like I was looking for a relationship. Now, if I would have ended up in one, I don't think I would have fought it. But I had also told everybody that I wasn't really looking for one. So didn't really it kind of hit me as one of those things. Well, I mean, maybe it just wasn't meant to be, whatever. So I was like, I wasn't tripping hardcore. And because I enjoyed his company, but I wasn't necessarily emotionally invested. Yeah, it hit because it was like, we had been hanging out for months, like daily. So it's kind of like one of those things, like, when you sleep with somebody in the same bed for a long time and then you no longer sleep with them in that same bed, it's very difficult for you to go to sleep because it's like, damn, like that's where my comfort was. You know what I'm
Were
saying?
you
So,
playing Trey songs? Your side of the
sure.
bed.
I mean, we just watch TV together, and that's my love language, watching TV together. So,
Aw.
I know, right? That ended. Well, and I don't want to say I wasn't emotionally invested. I was slightly emotionally invested. I would be lying if I said I wasn't like completely.
I was about to say, you said you missed them by your bed. That's an emotion.
Well, no, we didn't sleep. So I never slept over. Well, I think I slept over a couple of times, but I also like my bed to sleep in my bed. So, and I don't think I hadn't. Well, just another story, but I hadn't got comfortable with sleeping at other niggas' houses until like way further down the line. But,
Mm.
so yeah, so he ghosted me, and I was like, oh, okay, well, he ghosted me. That was my first time ever being like ghosted, like ghosted by somebody that I actually had spent a lot of time with, not like somebody I probably, messed around with for a couple of weeks. Um, and so yeah, so fast forward down the line.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of years had passed by.
Wait. Did you reach out when he ghosted you, or you just was like, it is what it is?
No, I
Did you
definitely,
try to?
because I didn't know I was being ghosted, so I definitely probably reached
You
out
said I
to.
didn't know.
Yeah, because I didn't think I
It
did
was
anything wrong.
purely like poof, Casper.
Like, I mean, done. And so, well, so what happened was he started distancing himself and then he ghosted. So it was kind of like he would send a text message and then like we'll kind of stop responding, or whatever the case may be, and then we would never hang, blah blah. So it was definitely a gradual ghosting. He was done. Felicius was done. So after that, a few years down the line, I kind of he hits me up and he's like, hey, I think he sees me on Facebook or something, whatever. He's like, oh well, I'm moving back to wherever I'm from. And I was like, oh, why? Yeah, I don't even know why, he was like, hey, how are you? Blah, blah. Like, he's like starting a
Like nothing
conversation.
happened.
Like nothing happened. And I'm just like, bro, like, I don't really, but I'm not a mean person. So I try my best to, operate in grace and forgiveness. And I wasn't still mad. It was just kind of like one of those things like, why are you talking to me? Like, you know what I'm saying?
We
So,
have no dealings.
listen, but I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna wait till you get to the point, and then I'm gonna be like, "Don't talk to me."
Now you can put in place.
Exactly, because if you get to the point, I might, because sometimes if you come back with somebody like, "Hey, I was in a bad space, my bad, I apologize," blah blah blah. I could be like, "Okay, well, thank you, but you can't say nothing, right?" But
Acknowledgement goes a long way.
it just depends. If you catch me at the right time on the right day, you might have an avenue. I'm just saying. So, anyways, but by this time I had like started losing weight, a lot more weight. My body was starting to, come into form. And, I was feeling myself a little bit, and everybody was feeling me at the same time too. So I was kind of like, yeah. So I was kind of like not pressed for no circle
You're like,
back.
I don't need this. I'm a bad bitch.
Listen, I'm trying to tell the people, they don't even know. But yeah, so he's talking, and I'm just like, hey, whatever. And so then he's like, yeah, I moved because my mom, she was sick, blah blah blah. So I came back to take care of her, whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's nice for you, blah blah. And he was like, yeah, I still kind of have a crush on you. I'm like, a crush, like, but like, what you mean?
How old
So
are
now,
we? Okay,
so now
Angelica
I'm like,
Pickles.
exactly, because I'm irritated now because where did the crush come from? I'm just trying to figure that out. Since when did you have a crush? And he was like, I've been had a crush on blah blah. I was like, well, you ghosted me, like nigga, like you just stopped talking to me. Like, what do you mean? And normally I don't bring shit up. Like I'm not that person, but like he had me fucked up, so I had to like get that together. He was like, I don't even remember why I was so mad. And I was like, why? Because I didn't do nothing. Like, so you couldn't have been mad. Exactly. He finally was like, oh, I think what happened was you said something. No, I said something to you, and you were like, something about. I think I had said something to the tune of, and if I'm remembering correctly, he was like, I said something to the tune of, a lot of people go through the same things that you're going through, but I didn't mean it like to invalidate his experience. It was kind of like you can make it out because a lot of people have made it out of the same situation that you go through. And because I used to say that a lot, before I realized how people can take that. but I definitely wasn't saying it with ill intent. But that's how he took it. So he was upset about that. And I was like, well, why you couldn't like just say that to me? Like, don't tell me that because that made me upset. And he was like, well, I mean, at that time, I was just so mad. I couldn't believe that you had said that to me. And I was just like, oh, okay. He was like, well, then he apologized. Um, but I ain't want no ports. So
You said I'm gonna sit in my petty.
listen, well, it wasn't even a petty. It was just kind of like one of those things. Like, nigga, like years have passed. Like, what
I don't
you
need
expect me to
this.
be in the same place that I was when I was 20, 21, 22? Like,
He thought you
no,
was still at campus at the bus stop.
absolutely not. Of course, he was like, yeah, we should definitely link. He's like, he was moving back. He was like, yeah, we should definitely link. And then I left off, and he was like, he was writing me while I was in the military, and I was like, I would respond to some, left him on red on the others because, and I wasn't still mad. It was just more so. It's like, what possibly could we? I'm not that same person. So when I got out of the military, he was like, yeah, we should definitely link. I was like, so I told him straight up, I was like, you had me, when I was younger, a few years back, and you kind of let that go. So, I'm just not in that space anymore. It's like, well, I respect that. Thank you for telling me. And then that was like the last real conversation that we had. And then of course he'll like hit me up every now and then, but I just leave him on red because there's just no point. And that's the story of how Felicia's got me fucked up and where I'm at today with.
Because was part of like your kind of like resistance to it, just like whenever people move or they're moving back, they hit up everybody in their Rolodex. At least that's the way I feel.
Oh no,
Or
I don't.
that's
I
what I've
definitely.
seen in the past.
No. In his case, I think he actually, and because it happens a lot to me. It's like people will leave for something that they misconstrue or misunderstand, and rather than communicate that they don't. And then when they have time to like work it out or process it on their own, they're like, well, he really didn't do anything that bad. And then they literally, like, I have like millions of stories about niggas that circle back, and I'll be just like, well, what changed? Because I'm still the same person. Like, you haven't seen any change in me clearly because we haven't talked. So like, what change happened? And then they were like, well, I realized I kind of overreacted. And I'm also not the type of person that gives you the uh the leeway to overreact because I'm really level-headed. So I always want to have that conversation. And so people are so like a lot of people are scared of conversation or even confronting me and being like, hey, I didn't really like when you did this. And I'll be like, oh, okay, well, that wasn't what I meant. Or to be able to even explain myself. And then when they work it out, they're like, oh, well, he really didn't do anything. And they'll come to me and tell me like, well, you really didn't do anything. It was a me thing. I'm like, all right, well, I'm glad you worked that out. But
You're gonna work it
yeah,
out on your own moving forward.
listen, because you left by yourself. You made that decision on your own. So, you can kind of figure that out on your own too. And so that's kind of just where I be at with people that kind of do stuff like that.
Why, in your
Um,
opinion, do you think that is kind of like a growing trend, especially, in the queer community? We don't want to have feelings, and whenever it gets too serious, and I won't even say serious, just whenever there's any type of resistance, like everyone just
so I
wants to
don't
go like the easiest way out.
so I don't think it's a growing trend. I mean, I definitely think it's something that's been in society for a very, very long time. I think that the reasons kind of change. So, before it used to be, let's kind of just bury everything under the rug and we can still make it through. And now it's moved to the place where it's like, well, I don't really need you. Um, everybody's, hyper independence is a growing trend, definitely. To where people are just kind of like, well, I know my worth and I'm capable of doing it without you. And there's like so many other people here that I could do it with. So I'm not trying to do it with you. Which is, I mean, absolutely true. I mean, we are not tied down to anybody within that regard. So it's definitely one of those things where I'm like, shit, I'm every woman. I definitely get that. But at the same time, I think you do yourself a injustice by not admitting, how much you care for somebody or care to ameliorate a situation that might have blossomed into something, potentially good for you and that person. And I think that the lack of communication stems from the idea that, I don't need that person. So I'm not going to exert any other effort for that. And then of course we all have our qualms, or we all have our breaking points where we feel like there's just no point of conversation. And I get it. I'm the same way sometimes. Like, I feel like if I'm extending effort and you're not necessarily extending effort, for me, like, that's not a conversation. Like, that's just like, okay, well, clearly you're not interested. It's me recognizing that you're not interested, so I'm just going to fall back. And some people would say, well, why didn't you tell me you expected more, blah blah blah. But I personally feel like I'm not going to explain the bare minimum to you. And I feel like there is a bare minimum in in dating and relationships that everybody should know. And if you kind of don't know it, then it's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, you're too old for me to teach you, for me specifically, to teach you about the bare minimum. Because if you don't know the bare minimum by now, then I'm sure there's other things that you're probably not going to know. And I'm just not in a place to be teaching anybody how to treat people that they're interested in. So I just think that people should just, if you're in a place of talking, yes, talk. But if you're not, you just have to recognize that you might no longer have access to that person, and that's just on you. And if and you can't feel a type of way when they don't want to engage you anymore, because you were the one that failed to communicate. So that's kind of how I operate. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I choose not to communicate with someone anymore, which I typically don't, I'm always willing to open up the floor for communication, just because whatever. And I'm also very much a person that communicates everything, because if it doesn't work out, I don't want it to be a situation where I didn't do everything that I could to work it out. There are people that, want to be better for society. There are people that are super hyper reflective and different things like that, that, constantly are thinking about ways they can be better, or ways they could have done something better, or whatever the case may be. If you put me in that state and then you force me to find closure on my own, then the likelihood of me allowing you to circle back is 0 to none. Some things hurt my feelings. Yes, absolutely. And I'll tell you straight up, like, hey, that kind of hurt my feelings when you did that. Just because I want you to understand exactly where I'm coming from. I don't want to leave any room, because I know how it is for me to have to think about or try to interpret what you might be saying. But, I try to be as transparent as possible. Like, hey, what you did right there hurt my feelings. And I told dude, I was like, hey, that low key, that kind of hurt my feelings back then, because, I thought we were good. He just, yeah. So I mean, after years, nigga, I mean, like, because when I find closure on my own, I close it and I lock it.
Closure is not yours to find with someone else. If you found it on your own, then you don't need anyone else. There's no need for you anymore.
I do think that closure that you find with other people is a lot more powerful than the closure that you find on your own. Because I think that the closure that you find on their own always leaves an avenue for, well, maybe. Different things like that.
Because you don't have that context.
Or the situation never truly, closes. For me, it's like you close the door, but you only bolt it. So it's like you only bolt it, you don't really lock it. So when that person tries to open the door again, they can still crack the door just a little bit, because the bolt stops it at the end. And I feel like that's how closure works when you don't do it with the other person.
So next question. How would you define a fuckboy? What is your definition of a fuckboy? I just ever guessed this, so I'm excited to hear this one.
So I think it really aligns to the inability to consider another person's feelings. That's just, for me, I think that everything kind of everything kind of boils down to pretty much that. Like, you just weren't considerate. And I think that goes along with communication. You weren't considerate enough to tell me. I think that goes with actions. You didn't consider me when you thought about doing whatever you wanted to do. Pretty much that. You didn't consider how my emotions would be involved when you told me all this, but all you really wanted was sex. Just so many different scenarios. I think that consideration just kind of boils down. I mean, everything kind of boils down to consideration, or the inability thereof to consider, just other people. It's almost like, kind of like sociopath. You kind of just do everything with, you know, and use other people to do it. So it's like, whatever, sociopathic
Yeah.
behavior.
Y'all look them up. It's not a psychopath, but it is the road on the way there.
Listen,
Um,
so, yeah.
do the work.
And of course,
So
you
what
can't
if
diagnose somebody for acting like that, whatever. But that, I mean, it is a tendency of a sociopath is to use other people's as means to get whatever you want. So it's definitely very fuck boy-ish esque.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I guess what advice would you give to someone in a similar situation, which you've kind of given it already, but let's see if you have anything else. You may have nothing else, but what advice would you give to someone in a similar situation?
Um, I would just say be preemptive. Be preemptive about those conversations, check-ins, making sure to. I mean, communicate is the biggest thing, but I think that there's absolutely things that you can do. It's like, hey, how do you think we're going so far? What do you think we can change? What do you think I can change? You shouldn't always wait for somebody to come to you with things about, I mean, and that should be something that you do in and out of a relationship, whether it's with your friends or at your job or whatever the case may be, is like, you're always reflecting on how you could be better. So I think that would be my biggest takeaway for anybody, is just to be preemptive about being better.
Okay, I like that. Now let's talk a little bit about you and everything you have going on. Okay, tell us a
Um,
little bit how nude skins got created and just this whole social media thing. You have a platform, you have a niche, a few niches at that, to me, in my opinion.
I'm
So
trying to
how
get
did all
it.
this come about? How did you and your relationship with social media kind of grow and change? And then also with your brand, how did the start of your brand get started? Tell us a little bit about that stuff you got going on.
Um, so I'll start with the brand. So the brand thing, actually, when I was in high school, I wanted to do a fashion line that was completely black and white. So like I would sell nothing but black and white clothing. And I wanted to call it grayscale. If y'all still there, I know you stole it. But I wanted to call it grayscale. And it would literally be nothing but black because it was always hard. I would always see like women looking for like the black staple piece, the black dress, and different things like that. And I would be looking for black pieces and white pieces. You never really could find them and that was all I wore was black pretty much because I was big. So I really love the color black. So I wanted a store that centered around the idea of the blackness, but then also I love the color white, so black and white. But that was in high school, and so like I had been sketching and different things like that. Whatever, life, whatever.
Sketching? Come on.
I did
Come
this,
on.
a little multifaceted, when I came, but not. So yeah, so that was in high school. Fast forward. I mean, my life has had so many different trajectories. Um, so fast forward. It wasn't until I actually joined the military that I think I was in basic training at the time, so we didn't have our phones, and so naturally I just went back to doing things that I was doing in my free time when I didn't have the TV or a phone, which was sketching too. So I was like really going in, like I was sketching shoes, sketching bags, I was sketching like a lot of athletic style material, workout clothes and different things like that. Because by the time I joined the military, I was like um, really into fitness at that time. So athletic, and I was like a little bit bigger. So a lot of things that I wanted to wear didn't necessarily look right on me. So I kind of was designing things for people that kind of look like me or bigger people or, and just shit that I wanted to see on other people. That I didn't see out there, and really inspired by, the 80s and the early 90s style fitness apparel at that time. And then fast forward, Rihanna came out with Fenty Skin. And so she highlighted like different skin tones and different things like that. And so I was like, boom. I want this. Like I need this. Blah blah. So I didn't say I need this. I started getting infatuated with skin tones, like just like having the idea of like something that matched my skin tone. And so fast forward, I was like, boom, I'm finna start a line. And it was always centered around athleisure. Actually, the first piece that I wanted to start with was kind of expensive, so I kind of had to like reroute because I was working on. Um, I don't want to. My funds weren't limited per se, but it just wouldn't have been a fiscally responsible move to start with it. It's actually a piece that I'm actually working on for the end of the year. So you'll see.
That's called pivoting, people.
Listen. Um,
I'm just
so
saying, people need to know.
listen, so yeah, so I wanted to start off with that piece, and it didn't really. I just couldn't see um, the financial gain, at the financial pros at that time. And so I was like, let me just hold off on it. Um, and then I kind of started doing the underwear, but then a couple of other people actually started doing. I guess we were all working on nude underwear at the same time.
Mhm.
And so, and it was so crazy because I was telling one of my friends about it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, this person is doing the nude." And I was like, "No, I didn't know." And so I was like, "Okay, cool, no problem." Because at the end of the day, I still
There are a
believe that.
million different black t-shirts. But what about
Listen,
your
and we can
black
all win
t-shirt?
together. And I'm very strong, and that's what I want to tell everybody too. Like at the same time, it's like we could support each other. Like we could sell the same shit, and we can support each other. Like you do yours, and you win, and I'm gonna buy your shit. I'm gonna do mine. You don't have to buy my shit, but you can support me too. Like it's okay. Like I don't have any um ill will to any other brand that does the same shit, because like it's 12 million gas stations. Like it's a billion cajillion people. Like they could buy your shit and they could buy my shit too. So anyway, so I came out with the line. So I made sure to my line is not really. I know a lot of people say, oh, you got an underwear line, and I don't mind. I mean, because if that's what it takes for you to buy it, hey, it is what it is. But my line is really athleisure and making sure that it's comfortable for all body types. We're not into like heavy into the bigger sizes yet. I think our highest size goes up to 3X for now. Um, but of course we're expanding. So hopefully by next year we're into the 4X, 5X size frame. But yeah, so that's how Nude Skins came about. And so we're just growing. I have a few pieces coming out. Everybody was asking for briefs, so we're coming out with that. I also have some tank tops
Yay.
coming out, and some other things for women. A couple of underwear pieces for women as well, and different things like that. So yeah, and then some other things that I don't want to give away too
Top
soon.
secret.
Yeah,
There you go. Surprise
yeah,
them.
yeah. So we're doing, and it's been doing great. I'm super grateful for the opportunity to like kind of serve the community and stuff like that too. Oh, and that being said too, we're also
Oh
working
yeah,
on a
talk
lot
about
of.
your black box.
Yeah, we're actually working on a few products to be able to like um so we're working on care packages for the homeless in Houston. So partnering with a couple of other entities to kind of deliver that. We did it last year, and it was like a real success. Well, at the beginning of this year, actually, it was a real success. I think we did over 100 care packages of just like beanies, gloves, hand warmers, um, and snacks and stuff like that. So this year we're trying to focus it on like socks. And then I think we wanted to do some like little carrier bags, so people have things to carry their stuff in, and different things like that. So that's what this year is about. And socks is like one of the things that homeless people request, or excuse me, houseless people request. Um, so we are trying to work that out. So I'm super excited for that because that's like one of my biggest passions. Why I went into social work, why I kind of went into mental health and different things like that. So yes.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Where'd you get this inspiration to start doing funny stuff online? Like, how do you think to do these videos? Do you
Oh,
just does it just come off the dome?
you know
You
what's
have to
crazy,
tell the
man? I've
people.
actually been doing this shit for so fucking long. So it is actually not new. I mean, I'm relatively new to social media. But like my friends and I, since I was like young as hell. Like we always been like making like crazy videos. We've always kind of just done stupid stuff. Like I am blessed to have a funny group of, like, I've never not had a funny group of people in my life. So it just is what it is. And these, in the videos I make, those are typically things that, so it's crazy. Like I'm a lot of times I'm by myself. I'm an introvert, I'm a homebody. So a lot of times I'm kind of thinking about my reactions to certain things, and different things like that. So the videos I create are typically how my mind processes the things, the triggers that, or not triggers, but the things that happen in real life. So I may not necessarily do them out loud. So if you meet me in person, you may not see it unless I'm like really, really comfortable in that moment. But this is how my mind processes that thing. And so then I obviously dumb it down and then put in a video form, and then boom, like and people laugh. I guess it's funny. So I just kind of kept on doing it. And actually, what's crazy is like it definitely wasn't one of those things that was like, oh well, people have found it funny. It's like one of those things. So I'm gonna do this regardless. I started my page doing it when I didn't have any followers. And I'm gonna do it. And of course, I posted my body a little bit too. So the people flock for that. Too. I don't know why, but I mean, like, I don't want to hear it either. I don't want to hear it either. But I mean, clearly the people appreciate what they see, and I'm grateful that people see something in me that they like. So yeah, so I guess that's how that came about, especially with Twitter. Instagram, pretty much the same thing. So yeah.
I think it starts from the inside. You definitely have a light on the inside, and I think it just shows from the outside. No, because you feel your personality even outside of like the body stuff. You feel it. It translates. I definitely would say that as a person who watches your content. It definitely transmits, and you can feel the energy even from you. See, I remember all these random stuff, and I ain't told you about all of it. I listen to you sing and all your little stuff. Yeah, so it definitely, you feel the energy from the content that you create. I would definitely want you to know that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, now tell everybody out there in the world how they can find Nude Skins and how they can follow you, Mr. Gummy Shark. Whenever I eat gummy sharks, I think about you. That's crazy too.
Really, you want the contact information?
Yes.
All right. So if you want to purchase anything on Nude Skins, you can go directly to my site, nudeskins.com. That's spelled nude and skins with a Z.com. Get up on there. You might see something you like. And to my ladies and my ladies adjacent, we're gonna have some stuff for you. And pretty soon, within the next couple of months, definitely before the end of November. So be on the lookout for that. You can, in the meantime, you can buy stuff for your husbands, your girl. Well, not your girlfriends just yet, but whoever you would want.
Wait, girlfriends like a boxer too?
Huh?
They like the girlfriends. They like a little. They might like a little.
Yeah, we got something. We got something for them coming out. We have some specific because the sizes differ. So I try to make everything as unisex as possible, but realistically, it's just very difficult to, have sizing that really matches. So I'm trying to have something special specifically for you guys. And whatever. Let me keep on going. So, so yeah, nudeskins.com. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at nudeskins with a Z_brand. Correct. On Instagram and Twitter. And then my social media, I don't even know what my social media handle. I think the John Show on Twitter, and then John_the Gummy Shark on IG. TikTok, John_the Gummy Shark as well. Yeah, and those are all my Twitter handles and things. If you order something from Nude Skins, we do ship out real quick. So if y'all worrying about how long it's gonna take the shit, take about 2 days at max. Unless you order on the weekends, then we'll send it on that following Monday. And so yeah, it's very much Nude Skins Prime. So
come on, Nude Skins Prime.
Period. I just believe you got to operate in excellence if you're gonna run a business. So let's get it. Let's go. Feel free to email us. And you can find our email page on nudeskins.com. What is he?
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And when we come back, I have a wild letter for you and our fuckboy versus fucked up portion of the show. So you just sit tight.
I couldn't help but wonder.
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 Are men just women with balls?
This is a good time to vent. Officially. Now, in the great tradition of Paris is burning, the library is about to be open. Hey! Because reading is what? Fundamental. That's right, children.
So we are back at our fuckboy versus fucked up portion of the show with John. John, his little striped shirt, y'all. I wish y'all could see it if y'all listening. He got his little smile going on. Okay, so today's letter, I have a letter for you, John. I hope you're ready. Today's letter, the subject line is why even try? And I want you to give some advice and weigh in and decide if you think this person is a fuckboy or if the situation is just fucked up. All right, so they write in, like I said, with the subject line, why even try? They say, hey, fuckboy problems. I've got a problem. Well, maybe a question I could use your opinion on. I heard you on Michael's Live, listened to this episode, and decided to reach out. Well, thank you for reaching out. My boyfriend of sorts, okay. We are setting a tone. Okay, my boyfriend of sorts, and I have been on again, off again for a few years, but for the past 8 to 9 months, we've been on and doing well for the most part. Amen for that. Emphasis on for the most part, because all that glitters ain't gold. In case you're wondering, the reason we've been so on again, off again, is because he can't seem to get his shit together in one way or another. He fixes one thing only to start messing up in a new area. At first, it was his communication. Then it became his fidelity or lack thereof. And now he thinks just because he does the standard or bare minimum, that equals a healthy relationship. I want to grow and elevate individually and as partners, but sometimes it seems I want it more for him than he does for himself. He makes the mistakes in not planning dates, being considerate, or even just putting in a little effort to show he cares. Whenever I bring this up, he says he'll work on it, or goes into all the reasons why he didn't think to do any of these things, whether it be stress at work or home. I put energy into constantly pushing myself to be the best girlfriend I can and do better when I'm not handling mine. He told me I could put a little bit more time into being sexy or wearing lingerie from time to time. And what did I do? Order some savage X-Fenty so I could handle mine. He even gets a little spontaneous lap dances, and I'll try little tricks in bed for him all the time. But somehow, somewhere, I feel like he stopped trying and moved over to autopilot. And now I'm no longer feeling like the most desired thing in my own home. I've tried a million ways to say it, giving him examples, ideas even on how to make me feel more wanted, which sounds really embarrassing now to think about it. But I did it because I love him and want to make this work. But now I'm feeling empty emotionally and mentally. Fuck the physical stuff, because he just doesn't seem to get it through his brain. I only think I have one more attempt left in me, but sometimes I ask myself, why even try when he's not? Am I dumb and dating a fuckboy, or is our situation just fucked up? Help. Signed, worn out Wanda.
Miss Wanda.
She got a call on the line for you. I think you're the right person to give. I think you're the right person.
Oh no. So this is
got some answers.
This is my thing. I think you can see it multiple ways. I don't necessarily. Okay. Let's break it up. So, fuck boy in the beginning, because if you're being, if you're cheating and different things like that, I mean that's just being inconsiderate of somebody else's feelings. Period. However, if you chose to forgive him, at this point, that's on you. So
choices.
So, if you're moving on without, and that's not a problem, then of course, I'm glad that that's no longer an issue. So I'm going to take that part out of the equation, and we'll just discuss, I guess, the current, where you guys are currently. So there's a couple of ways you can look at it. So we all have, love languages and different things like that. And sometimes, our love language doesn't match the other person's love language. So, while she is able to um, speak in his love language, he may not be able to speak in her love language. And sometimes it's not a thing of it being on purpose. It may just be a thing of, even though, you may tell him examples and different things like that, but sometimes you gotta show people, what I'm saying? Like, you gotta take him on a date, not necessarily put pressure on him. And then also, if that's the case and that's how y'all choose to move, also have him be like, well, I want you to be sexy. Like, have him model some of the same requirements that he has of you as well. So then he kind of gets the ability to see um what it is that being compromising, or what it is that stepping out of your comfort zone looks like. Because what you can tell somebody that, but you can't really, if they're not that kind of learner, then they're just not going to know. Secondly, you don't got to put up with that shit. Like, you don't have to deal with that if you don't feel like you're being satisfied in the relationship, and you discussed it with him and he expressed understanding and he has told you, straight up he's going to try and he's never tried and his words are not matching his actions. You don't have to stay there. You don't need to stay there. My thing is, don't let history be the thing that keeps you in a toxic situation, or a situation where you're not satisfied. And I'm not the type of person that just says get up and go all the time. But at the same time, you do have to recognize that as an option. Or you can go somewhere where somebody's going to appreciate you enough to be able to step out of their comfort zone without you having to beg them to do so. So a part of me feels like, hey, it's a fucked up situation. Taking the fuck boy parts out of the equation. But also it's a fucked up situation that you don't have to be in. And I think that if you're at your last straw, tell them that. Tell them like, hey, I'm really not being satisfied. I'm not getting what I need out of this relationship. And it's making me shut down. To the point where it's like, maybe we're not meant to be together. And if he responds like, baby, I'll change in 90s R&B, you know what I'm saying? And he actually changes, then, good luck to y'all. But if he doesn't, or if he tries to validate your feelings or whatever the case may be, then it's probably time to walk the end of the road. And
Oh my
so,
gosh.
so, so you might want to just dip.
Yeah, so do you think he's a fuck boy, or do you think it's
I
just
don't I
fucked up
don't
right now?
necessarily think it's I can't she didn't give enough information for me to say
Right. It
it's
sounds
a
very on
fuck
the
boy.
fence.
Yeah. I just don't think, there are some people that are just incapable of being romantic. They're just some people. But at the same time, I do think that as a partner, you should be able to satisfy your partner. And if your partner's requiring intimacy and romance, you should figure it out. And and I think that she's doing a lot of work to um to teach him and all this kind of stuff, but he's just not getting it. Which is why I said, well, hey, you've already done what you can do. So if you're at your last straw, like, leave. Like, but I would say sometimes people don't see, and I hate this idea, but sometimes people don't see something until it's about to be gone, which is why I say have that conversation so that you're good with leaving, not necessarily for his benefit, but so that you're good when if you decide to leave. Because nobody deserves to be in a relationship where they're not being fed into or poured into or satisfied with their partner, especially when there's hella niggas out here that would treat you like the queen that you deserve to be. So yeah.
Yes, Wanda. I'm pretty aligned. I'm not gonna lie. I may be a little bit more harsh. I'm a little bit leaning towards that fuckboy thing. Just because I believe you can communicate with someone, you can tell someone what you want, and it's their responsibility to listen and hear and receive those things and retain that. And I'm all about grace. I understand, I'm a person, some things it takes me a few tries to get it, or this just doesn't naturally come to me, which to your point, John, romance might not be the thing that naturally comes to him and it requires work. But what you also said was you've been trying to give him examples and trying all these different approaches towards helping your partner learn your love language and learn the things that you need. And if they're unable to retain it or apply, the tools, now the resources that you've given them, then that's on them. And you can't take accountability for their inability, to satisfy and, love you the way that you're saying that you need to be loved. I am a proponent for you want to do everything you can while you're in it. I'm very much a ride or die kind of bitch. I'm gonna do it I won't say till it destroys me. That's what I used to say, and I don't believe in that anymore. But I do believe, you want to walk away from a relationship or a situation or anything in life, honestly, with no regrets or as little regrets, like you said earlier, as you can for the most part. So I agree. I think you should have one last talk. And I think also sometimes when you let a person know, this is your last shot, lighting that fire under that ass can create some change. Look at Jay-Z. We don't know what he's doing, but you know what? The fact that we don't know what he's doing is something. And mama seems happy. She's eating. She had 2 more babies. So, he made some decent choices, at least moving forward.
Okay.
And he got her satisfied enough with what he's doing. And Virgos are alive. Virgos will cry a lot. They're a lot. No shade to the Virgos. They're like perfection central. So I know she's running a tight ship. But oh no, I think you either have a fuckboy that is struggling to shake his ways and really elevate and do better, or you are in a fucked up situation that maybe can be repaired. I mean, to your point, and I want to say to, your partner's compliment, you did say you had 8 to 9 months of, pretty decent, positive, it's been on. So that's like a full gestational period for a child. That takes a lot of work. But just because you guys are doing mildly okay for 8 to 9 months, or you're kind of hiding when you're bothered, because it also kind of seems like you're not voicing every issue or every time it happens. And sometimes as people, we can give grace too much, where you're just ignoring everything. You're just like bottling all up. And maybe that's why you had to hit my inbox and you haven't actually told him probably how frustrated you are. So I think you should definitely sit your partner down and really have a conversation, and use this conversation as an outlet to keep it 100 and lay everything out on the table so that your partner can know exactly where they stand. You are on thin ice. Everything is not perfect, because I have been that person in a situation where they think everything is gravy. And I'm sitting over here like, you just don't know. I got 1 foot out the door, and you've been playing and playing and playing, and you're gonna run out of cards. So I think, sis, Molly, I'm not gonna say you're in danger, girl, but there's definitely you're at a yellow light. You're at a yellow light, Mom. And I wish you all the best. But use your words, and I say as much as you can, as honestly as you can, as kindly and respectfully. Don't use this as an opportunity to just lash out and unleash. So maybe write some stuff down, get your thoughts on paper. That's always helpful for me. So you can make sure that you're going through this in a constructive way, and sharing it with your partner in a way that they can walk away with something that they can use and, have a jumping off point and have some type of foundation for them to improve from. Because if you're just going to let it all out and then you don't give them nothing to work with, they can't succeed. So set the man up for success, so that he can try to improve, hopefully. And that's all I got for you, boo. All the best.
Miss Wanda.
Miss Wanda. When we come back, we'll be at our Song of the Week portion of the show, y'all.
Hey, how about we listen to a little bit of music?
That is my song. You know they gave me a shout out on the album, right?
Word?
Yes. Everywhere I go, I see the same.
We are back at our Song of the Week portion of the show. We have Mr. John here on the door. It's closed. It is dead bolted. There's just a whole steel plate on the door. You can't come back in.
That part.
Over here where we rock. So what is your song What is your song, sir?
Well, my song for closing doors is "So Gone" by Monica. Just because, listen, boy, I'm the rowdy chick. Sometimes I have to fight because my mouth too slick. Baby, why you doing me like I ain't worth ish? Listen, make me want to ride past your house and shit.
Hit down you. Ooh, I'm triggered. I'm triggered.
And slap your chick just to show you John ain't having it. Listen, that's it. That's the one.
That's the one. Now, why is that song? Why is that the one?
I just sang it to you. I don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
Don't play it on my top. No.
I don't understand.
Well, there it is, you guys. He just told y'all. He said the lyrics speak for themselves. I'm not explaining myself. Listen. You do the work. Due diligence. So this is So Gone by Monica. Please make sure to add our playlist on Apple Music and Spotify and
Well, yeah, if you think you can.
Okay. Deanna. If you wanna be somebody, if you wanna go somewhere, you better wake up and pay attention. If you wanna be somebody, if you wanna go somewhere, you better wake up and pay attention. If you wanna be somebody, if you wanna go somewhere, you better wake up and pay attention.
Wait a minute.
We have arrived to the last stop here on this train. We are at our fuckboy fix portion of the show with Mr. John, the gummy shark. If y'all don't know him, I love gummy sharks, and they remind me of him whenever I have them. Like literally, it's very funny.
It's actually my favorite candy too. So
it's like now it's just synonymous with you in my head. It's very funny. It's been like that for a while now. So, what is your fuckboy fix for today?
This a message to the actual fuck boys. I say you can't circle back if I'm not in the same place. So I just want y'all to have that tidbit of information.
Now, what does that mean to you? You say you can't circle back when I'm not in the same place.
Oh, you got everybody have a grace period of communication, a grace period of fixing things, a grace period of figuring shit out, closure. And if you wait too long and I move from that place, when you circle back, I'm not gonna be there. So holla at your mama. Cause I ain't omnipresent. So,
not omnipresent.
I'm just trying to tell the people.
This is a limited time period. Okay.
Period.
The warranty does not last forever.
You really listen. These days, recognize what you have before you let it go.
Boy, you better let them know. Okay, well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming and being on the show today. Let everybody know what your socials are, how they can find you, how they can find Nude Skins. One more time, plug it, and then we're out.
Yeah, so nudeskins.com with a Z, NUDESKINZ.com. Then you have John_the Gummy Shark on IG and TikTok, and then the John Show on Twitter. And on IG and Twitter, you have Nude Skins with a Z _brand. And that's it. That's me. It's John on all platforms. Coming to Spotify near you. Apple Music. I don't do music, but just in case. I don't know. It sounded cool to say. So
I mean, it does. You will be there. You'll be there right now after when this episode comes out. You will be there. How about that?
John on Apple Music. Coming soon.
Well, thank you again for doing the show. And bye, fuck boy.
Bye, fuck boy.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Please make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at _FBProbs. Also, if you want to see video clips from today's episode, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel by visiting our linktree at linktr.ee/FBProbs. And go ahead and add our playlist on Spotify and Apple Music while you're there. And last but not least, if you've got fuckboy problems or just want some advice, email us at fbprobs@justin-rayne.com. Until the next episode, bye fuckboys!